fallout, smoke, women crying for their sons because their sons are not, Romans killing riotous groups that are rising up. Free Judea, free our people, autonomy for Israel. You had Herod, an Edomite, and his dynasty. Herod's ruling, killing any potential threat, any potential Messiah. Then you had the Pharisees and the Sadducees, that we learn from Josephus are not Jews by birth. No.
Brothers and sisters, they are there. We are not lost. We are scattered. We are original Hebrew.
Let's go! All praises be to the Most High God. Yeah, I say it.
I was opportune to meet my grandparents, whom from childhood had always made us to understand that we are one of the lost tribes of Israel. Okay. So from my grandmother.
Right. Now look at these. Yeah, I'm telling you, I gotta show y'all. A picture speaks 1,000 words. Just look for yourself. And this is the creme de la creme. All praises be to the Most High, y'all. Everything we've been through, y'all, the Most High is going to retribute it on all the nations that have had a hand in the oppression of his apple, the apple of his eye, his chosen people, his beloved, his fervent lover, his only begotten. They're going to have their part in the lake of fire. You see them tormented by some kind of creature. I don't even know what that even is, y'all. Judgment in chains. He that led into captivity shall go into captivity. All praise to the Most High, y'all. What's up, Zion Dynasty? This is your favorite dreaded Israelite, the fan, the myth, and the legend, Mr. JB Zion. Y'all, show me some love, show me some love. You already know what time it is. Your boy is back, about to hit y'all with another banger. All praises, honor, glory, dominion, majesty, splendor to the Most High Yah, the mighty one of Jacob, the holy one of Israel, the resurrector of Zion, the raiser of the 12 tribes of Israel. All praises to the Most High Yah. And first I want to say peace, love, blessings, and black power to all my Israelite brothers and sisters, all those that have been just supporting on us, loving on us. Y'all are the absolute best. Y'all have been just encouraging us. You've been just supporting the community and just inspiring love. When new people are coming in, y'all, we are touching a lot of new souls that did not know this truth, do not know this history. And I just give all praise to the Most High Yah that he's used this platform to just awaken our people, right? It's not just people that have already heard this or know this, but it's the majority have not heard this information. And I love the way y'all are loving on each other, supporting one another, just edifying, making it a warm family for everybody to join. Y'all, we are a massive family and it's getting out of hand. But not just that, y'all. I want to say peace, love, blessings, and black power to all the Gentile supporters. All my Gentile family, I love you all as well. It is a lot of y'all that support this work, that know that we're the people. You know what has gone on against our people, but you're not lost in the sauce. All those that ain't lost in the sauce, you're not with these urban apologist Christian junkies that misconstrue scripture, right? But y'all are about the Most High's will. You're about raising up his people, his children, and I could not thank y'all enough. It's a lot of y'all, and I just send peace and blessings y'all way to your family, to everybody you encounter. I love you guys. So you guys, your boy is back. We are about to go in, and this is about to be a big one, y'all. So before we go too deep, I want y'all to go ahead and smash that like button, comment, share, subscribe, share it to as many people as you know. Y'all just flood, just get this truth out, because we're about to go in, y'all. And we're continuing our kingdom series, right? We just started our Black Kingdom series, which is talking about the kingdom of Israel, right? Where we're gonna deal with the promise of us getting back to the land when the Most High returns, regathers the 12 tribes, and returns us back to Zion. We looked in Acts chapter 1, verse 6, where Peter himself said, Lord, at this time, he's asking Yeshua, upon Yeshua's resurrection, Lord, at this time, will you restore again the kingdom unto Israel? Y'all, this is our foundational scripture. This is what we're going to refer to throughout the entirety of the series, y'all, when we're talking about our people going back to the land and that kind of thing. But this series, y'all, is going to be a big one. Now, we've been talking about the chariots because we're transitioning from captivity and thinking about us being in the land of our captivity to our autonomy. This is a transition. So we're showing the judgment on the Gentiles, the judgment on all the nations is going on right now, y'all. All praises be to the Most High, Yah. We've seen about wars, rumors of wars, this whole pandemic that's going on. The Most High ain't playing no games. The Most High got all the smoke. All praises be to the Most High, Yah. And I know a lot of urban apologists. I gotta shout y'all out, y'all trolls. I love y'all. I'm telling y'all, I really do. Y'all motivate me. You keep that fire burning. You remind me that the mission is too great because I gotta deal with y'all. A lot of y'all went to the daggum near cemetery school
to be able to learn absolutely diddly squat.
Seminary school where you didn't absolutely nothing, right? So a lot of y'all say stuff like,
well, Israel don't worry, whosoever will, let him come.
Because you don't know the cultural nuances of the scriptures. You don't know the who, what, when, where, and why. You don't know that the Bible in its entirety is an African Judeo book. It belongs to the children of Israel. The scriptures is a love letter from the Most High Yah to his dearly beloved, the apple of his eye, his chosen elect from the foundation of the world. That's our history. That's our hair. Come on! That book belongs to Yah's people. And when you look at the historical context, when you look at the books they tried to take out, that's why I tell y'all, get yourself a Sefer, get yourself a 1611. These books, I mean, if you get those Bibles, it's invaluable. The amount of information and history and little puzzle pieces that bridge the understanding of the scriptures together. Because as you will see, the scriptures is one story, one love letter of a father to his children, a husband to his bride, where through it all, through their disobedience, through their lack of faith, through their whoring around spiritually, wanting to be with all these, not just spiritually, but naturally, sleeping around with all these other nations, worshiping these nations' gods, going into spiritual idolatry, throughout all of that, the Most High said, I ain't never gonna give up on my people. And all my Gentile followers, y'all should take great pride and joy in knowing that you are a part of a family where a father has that type of relentless love. Right? In the society we live in, we already know about the times changing, and we know in every generation we get further and further away from that family and that mindset of unity. But the Father said, I ain't gonna change. No matter what the nations say, no matter how they try to do away with my beloved, no matter how much church replacement theology and Christian dogma and doctrine, there is never going to be an amount of power that these nations have to force me to give up on my people. And we talked about this, y'all. We went to Jeremiah chapter 31. I'm finna put it on the screen, where the Most High says, behold, I am he who created the sun that shines in the day sky and the moon that shines so bright in the night. Behold, I create the stars and the waves that roar thereof. If these ordinances cease before me, then and only then, O Zion, will our Father forsake the seed of Israel from being a nation before him. That means that there's an eternal indictment. There's an eternal promise. There's an eternal assurance that the Most High will always be faithful to Israel, that Israel will be restored, and that we will get back to the land that he promised for his servant Abraham's sake. All praises be to the Most High Yah. He has not changed his mind, y'all. This is the good news, that in the midst of us violating our covenant and contractual agreement with our Father, he said that I'll nullify that, but by the blood of Yeshua, I will redeem and restore that covenant that I spoke to your forefathers. Now, I told y'all, the Sefer says old versus renewed, and it helps you understand better. Because in Jeremiah 31, that same chapter, it says, behold, I will make a new covenant with the house of Judah and the house of Israel. So y'all, we're gonna be dealing with this heavy about the new covenant, the gospel and the kingdom having to do with our people. The new covenant pertains to Israel. I know y'all
like, well, that's the Old Testament, JB, Jeremiah 31 talking about the new covenant for Israel. We living under a new covenant.
Well, in the new covenant, in Hebrews chapter 8, let's go. Hebrews chapter 8 verse 8, it says, behold, in those days I will make a new covenant with the house of Judah and the house of Israel. Y'all should know by now. This is the channel with the receipts. Old, New Testament, Apocrypha, Maccabees, Tobit, Genesis, through Revelation. We got all the facts. We got all the smoke. We got all the smoke. Because I gotta tell y'all, I do not take this honor, this privilege lightly, that the Most High is using me, using this channel, using my family, using y'all to awaken our people. So when I tell y'all something, this is well researched, corroborated, precepts, line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little, to get the understanding, y'all. I don't play around with that thing. So y'all already know this is the channel where we got these smokes. We do these things, y'all. We go into the history, we go into the archaeology, we show you Harvard sources, we show you Oxford sources, we show you Cambridge sources, we verify oral traditions of people that have lists of kings that go back to Zion. We go through the African tribes. We deal with this stuff in detail to prove to any doubter that we, in fact, are the biblical descendants of the children of Israel. That not just is it a spiritual metaphor where our people look like Zion, but if you do the DNA, if you do the research, if you look into EP2 and the Natufian DNA that the Harvard study in 2011 and 12 found us in the land of Israel, if you do all the research corroborates the very prophecies of the Most High Yah. That's why the Most High said, see, our God is bad, y'all. That man mighty. The Most High said, I speak the thing in the beginning that's going to be in the end, so that when it happens, you might know that I am he whose going forth has been of old, from everlasting to everlasting. Y'all don't get me started now. So in today's video, y'all, this going to be heavy. This is groundbreaking. Shout out to Teo Ministries. Shout out to I believe Golda, I think that's the name of her, House of Golda. She's been doing a good job. Shout out to Go Black to Africa. Now, when I say these people, y'all, there are some things that they say that I might not necessarily agree with fully. So I don't want y'all to be like, well, JB said this, you know. But shout out to these brothers and these sisters for the work that they're doing, y'all. I'm telling you, the truth is coming out. This video is groundbreaking in terms of what we're gonna go into. I'm gonna propose to y'all, Zion. Now y'all check this out. Now I done already told y'all that my contention is a lot of these black power groups, a lot of these black power ideologies, a lot of these different organizations are linked, are connected. Y'all check out those Moorish videos. I know I did that series a while ago where we went into the Moors and Al-Andalus and all these things. But the majority of the diaspora, African Americans and those scattered to the four corners during the transatlantic, the majority of the diaspora come from these Sephardic Moorish Israelites. So the entire concept of a nation of Moors, Nubian Moors, you know, the Moorish Science Temple, the Moorish Zion Temple, a lot of these organizations are divided by the intelligence of Esau. Now y'all check out the Esau Edom series where we went into Esau is the end of the world, these European Union, the 10 market companies, the 10 toes of the statue of Daniel, the fourth beast of Daniel's vision, the fourth beast that Ezra saw come up out of the sea with the image of an eagle. These European nations, fueled by Esau, are confederate against the Most High's people to keep us asleep and to divide and conquer us. So you have all these different ideologies. Then you got the Nation of Islam. Then you got Israelites saying what we saying. Then you got Moors. Then you got Khemitic brothers. And all of them are connected by the umbilical cord of ancient Judea. And I've already told y'all, my proposal is that all of these groups are saying the same thing at the most fundamental level. When you look at the Moorish Science Temple of today, which is from the Honorable Prophet Noble Drew Ali, he is the protege of Master Richelieu. Now this is where you got to do research. Master Richelieu founded the Moorish Zion Temple. I repeat, the first Moorish organization was the Moorish Zion Temple, where Master Richelieu himself, that's why you got to know your elders and you got to know your history. Master Richelieu taught that we were the Moorish Israelites of Al-Andalus. Al-Andalus is Arabic for, right, Iberian Spain. So this brother was saying that our people descended from Israelite Moors. When you do your research into the Jews and Moors of Spain, I'm gonna put that on the screen, right? By Joseph Christoph. I got the Harvard stamp in this book. E.H. Lindo, The Jews and Moors of Portugal and Spain, Harvard stamp. These are credible sources. You see that the Moor just means black. And I showed y'all light and truth. I'm gonna put that on the screen. Where the word Moor just means black. And in light and truth, the ancient Judeans were called Moors. The prophets were called the prophets of the Moors. I'm gonna put it on the screen for y'all so you can know. So Moor was just meant African or black people. But it also refers to an era of rulership, the Moorish Empire, that started in circa 711 CE and expanded all the way to 1492. That's almost 1,000 years, you guys, you know, about 700-800 years. But it almost is a day where our people ruled until they were banished by King Ferdinand, Queen Isabella, y'all know the story, and migrated into North Africa via the Gibraltar Straits of Morocco and went into sub-Saharan Africa, right? So the Moors were teaching that they were Israelites from conception. Then you got Israelites, then you got the Nation of Islam, and don't get me started. So the Nation of Islam today, peace and blessings and honor to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, who is the protege, right, of Elijah Muhammad, who is the protege of Farid Muhammad, who was also a fellow student and protege under Master Richelieu. Under Prophet Noble Drew Ali. So Farid Muhammad was a protege of Noble Drew Ali because it said that Farid Muhammad, when he was selling silks, going door to door, said that he was the reincarnation of Noble Drew Ali. Now we just said that Noble Drew Ali was the mentee under Master Richelieu. So what am I saying? The Moorish Zion Temple, teaching that we are the Moorish Israelites of Al-Andalus, had a protege, Noble Drew Ali, that started the Moorish Science Temple. He also had a spiritual son, Farid Muhammad, who founded the Nation of Islam. When I tell y'all, when you break each one of these black power groups, the fundamental doctrine, the fundamental understanding was that so-called African Americans are actually descendants from the biblical Israelites. Y'all don't know how powerful that is. Now, in today's video, we're gonna deal with the continent of Africa. And my proposal to y'all is that the continent of Africa, etymologically speaking, is named after Ephraim. It's named after Northern Kingdom. It's named after Israel. And I'm telling y'all, I know this is heavy. Y'all stay with me. Now, a lot of
y'all, well, GB, I thought that, Africa is the land of Ham. Africa is the land of Ham.
This is a very delicate situation. I'm gonna go ahead and prep y'all for surgery. When you look at the prophecy of Genesis 9, there is a lot of in-depth nation prophesying statements that Noah makes to his 3 sons before he dies. He prophesies to Ham, Shem, and Japheth what would become of them in the last days. Now, we're gonna go there, and I'm gonna show you guys that it was prophesied that the land of Ham itself would end up being a servant to Shem, and that then Japheth would dwell in the tents of Shem. What does that mean? That means that Ham, because of what Canaan did, and I'm gonna put that on the screen, because of what his son Canaan did, Noah said, you're gonna be a servant to Shem. And not just that, but then Japheth is gonna dwell in the tents of Shem. So what's going on is Ham, the ancient borders of Africa, when you look at the land of Ham, when you look at Ethiopia, because the continent was also referred to as Ethiopia, or Akebulan, which is the motherland, right? That land of Ham was prophesied to end up becoming a servant, and not in the servant in terms of that wickedness white folks do, but a shelter, a refuge, a dwelling place for Shem. And this is verified through so much history, and I'm going to go through that thing. But before I do, I'm going to finish the story. So Ham, his borders, his land, all of that will be a servant, a refuge, a dwelling place, a shelter for the woman running from the dragon, that wilderness that our people would flee to. Ham's land would be that for Shem. But the dark part is Japheth would then dwell in the tents of Shem. This is why you have the Gentiles, because Japheth is the father of the Gentile powers. You have Japheth, who is fueled by Esau. Y'all gotta check out the Esau series, because all of these videos, y'all, converge together with this understanding of Africa being the land of Ephraim. And all of this sets the stage for the kingdom. Because Japheth, we know through history that ancient Chittim, or ancient Rome, became one with Zepho, the grandson of Esau, via Jasher, via the Jewish Encyclopedia, the Bible Dictionary, the baby book's name we looked at, the Legend of the Jews, just too many scriptures. Revelation, Daniel, Ezra. We see that Esau's grandson Zepho becomes one with the people of Rome and dominates the entire Tubal, Mediterranean, Cyprus Island region. Why is this important? Because Esau in Japheth would end up conquering the earth, specifically dwelling in the land that belongs to Shem. And when we say Shem, we're going all the way through his lineage: Eber, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. So these Gentiles would live in the land that rightfully belongs to Shem, but not just live there. They would exploit that land. They would steal the minerals. They would steal the cobalt. They would steal the gold. They would steal the palladium. Y'all don't want to talk to me. They would steal all these things, and they would, like an African pie, divide up the land that would be a refuge and actually belong to the God of Shem. Now y'all look at that prophecy in Genesis 9. Why do I bring all this up? Because the land of Ham became one with the land of Shem, similarly the way the land of Chittim, or Japheth, became one with Esau. Now y'all gotta check out some of those Esau videos to look into Zepho. Zepho is the precursor for Zeus, because he was the god of gods in the eternal city of Rome that established dominance, conquered King Angeus, defended them, and they made him king, and all this history. We went through that in the book of Jasher. So in today's video, we're gonna go into the African roots of the biblical scriptures. Y'all, it's a big topic, and a lot of Israel is starting to teach this information. Now, y'all check out some of those older videos where we went into the Jewish virtual library and a lot of sources to show the Israelite influence on the continent of Africa. So, when we look at the Bible, from the beginning of the book, we see that the Bible is an African book. We see Africa mentioned near 800 times plus in the scriptures. Greece and these European nations are only mentioned a handful of times. 4 to 10 times do you see them mentioned. However, Africa, from Genesis to Revelation, is the heartbeat. Now, why do I bring that up? Because the land of Israel today, the term Middle East is not an old concept. The term Middle East is a new concept. The Middle East, they weren't calling that land no Middle East. Middle East of what? What does that term even mean? Right? The Middle East is not an accurate term. It's not a term of antiquity, but actually that Middle East so-called region is Northeast Africa. The land of Israel sits on the African tectonic plate, the Hua Africani, and I'm gonna show y'all a clip by our brothers, shout out to our Demona brothers, that are in the land of Israel and can verify this information.
We consider Israel to be Northeast Africa. We are living here in the southern portion of Israel in what is known as the southern Judean mountains. And of course, we have to make this clear that Israel predates any Palestinian connections here to this land. When you look at the name of Palestine, it was the name that the Romans gave to the land formerly known as Judea. Now, I didn't say Jewish or Judaism, but Judea. So the Judeans were the people that actually lived in this portion of this land prior to it being named Palestine by the Romans. So This is what we consider to be Northeast Africa. We are sitting on the African tectonic plate. There are African species of birds and animals and plants that you'll find all throughout this region.
Why I took you here is that I want to show you that the country called Israel is sitting on the African tectonic plate. Now, we're going to go over here and I'm going to show you where Israel sits on the African tectonic plate, which means that Israel is Northeast Africa. Now, when we look at this map, this is the Sinai. Okay, this is the Red Sea. This is Egypt. This is the Sinai. This is Israel. All right, this is Saudi Arabia over here. Now, if you see this in Hebrew, it says Haluak Afrikani, the African plate. Here it is right here. Israel is sitting right here. Israel is sitting on the Haluak Afrikani, which means that Israel is Northeast Africa.
Now, I'm telling y'all this stuff is deep. Now, the reason I showed y'all that is we're going to verify with the Bible dictionary, the Zondervan, that Ham's children would be Mitzrayim, Put, Cush, and Canaan, right? These sons are the sons of Ham. Why do I bring that up? The land of Israel in antiquity was known as the land of Canaan, or Canaan. And when you look in the book of Jubilees chapter 8, you see that Ham's land was from the Middle East all the way into the entire continent of Africa. Understand, now specifically in antiquity, it was the northern region of Africa, because sub-Saharan Africa became flooded with the Bantu speaking people, the Niger-Congo precursor phylums, during the time of our people migrating and flooding into that place. So our people flooded into Africa and created the sub-Saharan Negro people, right? But from antiquity, the land of Ham would have been the northern, that mountainous region going into the so-called Middle East. All of this was Ham's borders. Now, I bring this up to let you guys know that the Middle East was always Northeast Africa. It was always a part of Ham's borders. It was the same thing. This Middle East term is a political term to sever the umbilical cord of our people with our land, really. Because the Middle East, quote unquote, also is an extension of Ham's borders, which was prophesied to be a servant to Shem. We see this throughout history. Now let me show y'all the African influence of the scriptures. So from the very beginning, family, the Garden of Eden itself, the Bible describes the rivers that would have encompassed that region of Ethiopia. I repeat, the region of Ethiopia is an extension or a part of the Garden of Eden. Ethiopia, the Garden of Eden. Y'all get that in your mind. So we see the Bible in Genesis 2 go into great detail about that thing. Not just that, but we proceed to see heavy Hamitic influence on the birth of the Hebrew people. When you look at Eber, a descendant of Shem, the father of the Eber or Ivri, our Hebrew people, Eber's first wife, y'all check this out, was the daughter of Nimrod, Azura. Now this is a lot of history. I need y'all to take notes and stay with me. We are going to slow walk this thing and show you that the Bible is an African book, that Africa is the continent, the refuge that was given to Ham, that would be for Shem to dwell and become one with this people. We're going to show that Africa and Ephraim, Africa and Israel is synonymous. The promised land. Let's deal with it. So Genesis 2, I showed y'all the Garden of Eden. The Bible tells you expressly the rivers that surround that also flow through Ethiopia. This is one region. I told y'all, and when we went through in the book of Jasher about King Angeus, the king of Africa in the book of Jasher, the Bible says his capital city was Dinhaba. If you Google Dinhaba, they're going to show you an image of the Middle East. So how is the king of Africa the king of the Middle East? It was Northeast Africa. So we see this described in Genesis with the Garden of Eden, that Ethiopia and that entire Jerusalem, all of that was one land, one people or one land, right? So we see that. But not just that, we see that Eber, the father of the Hebrew or Ivri people, his first wife was a Hamite. Not just that, but then we see Israel begin to mix and match with the Hamite people like 90 going west. We see that Joseph, when he was sold into Egypt by his brethren because they were envious of him, they couldn't even recognize him. Now, when you look at the scriptures in Genesis 37, it tells you that Joseph was 17 years old. So at 30, he should have been able to be recognized by his brethren, unless if he could just change up a little bit, he could blend in with the Egyptians. And that's exactly what Joseph did. Not just that, but in Genesis also, I believe in chapter 38, it tells you how Judah, his first wife, was a Canaanite woman. Joseph's wife was an Egyptian woman. Moses, as a baby, was able to be raised in Pharaoh's house and Pharaoh not even know it. Now, Pharaoh was going on a campaign because we'll see in hidden books, like the book of Jasher, that a magician told Pharaoh that a Hebrew, that a chosen prince would overcome your empire. So now they don't go into that detail in your regular King James. That's why I tell y'all to get these books. So basically, Pharaoh was going through trying to kill all the Hebrew man-childs. He would tell the Hebrew maidens to throw their babies into the water. This spirit of Egypt exists today. They got Planned Parenthood. Ooh, y'all don't get me started now. They got Planned Parenthood. They trying to get our young daughters to have abortions, to mess their whole insides up where they're infertile and they can't have kids again. Y'all better population control. Then they want to incarcerate the African-American man or shoot him down on the streets. This is the spirit of Egypt, the spirit of Pharaoh that seeks to wipe Hebrews, the Israelites, out of the face of the earth, out of the mind of the Most High Yah. But we already know the Most High ain't gonna let that thing happen, because in the very tool of our damnation, Moses floated in a basket to his salvation and went to the very daughter of Pharaoh, and she raised him up like her very son. But y'all check this out. Pharaoh could not even tell the difference between the very thing he was seeking to destroy and the very baby that was raised in his house. This shows you, y'all, that our people look just like them Egyptians. So I already told y'all that the Garden of Eden is Africa. I already showed you guys Eber, who is Hebrew, the father of the Hebrew people, his first wife was an African woman. I showed you that Joseph was sold into Egypt. His only wife was an Egyptian woman. I showed you guys that Judah's wife was a Canaanite woman. I showed you guys that Moses couldn't be recognized in Egypt, and Moses' wife was an Ethiopian woman. I'm telling y'all, that Bible is an African book. The Bible is an African book. So all of Moses' lineage, right, they would have been African. Judah's lineage, the Levites. I already told you Joseph. So Ephraim and Manasseh were born out of Egypt by an Egyptian foremother. Not just that, but we see that the Bible says the 7 locks of Samson's hair were cut. We see Job in Job 30:30 say, my skin is black upon me. We see Song of Solomon 1:5 where the king himself says, I am black but beautiful. Not just that, but we see Yeshua. We see Yeshua when Herod, that red Edomite dragon, was trying to destroy all the Hebrew babies, which is a parallel to Moses, because Yeshua is that second Moses, gonna bring the second Exodus that we talked about in the last video, that's gonna be like a pit bull on the leash. And Yeshua like, Father, let me get at him. And the Bible says in Isaiah 63, he gonna come like a fiery man. He gonna come with his a blood-drenched sword to execute vengeance on Esau and all these nations for what they've done to his people. Now let's go back. So then Yeshua goes into Egypt through his parents, Joseph and Mary, by the discretion of the angel that warns that Herod is trying to kill that baby. Y'all go to Africa. Now, why did that angel tell him to go to Africa? Because the Hebrews were known for going into Africa. When you look at Abraham during the time of the famine, Isaac during the time of the famine, Jacob during the time of the famine, Joseph was sold into Egypt. So Yeshua had a long line of knowing his people took refuge in the borders of Ham, which is prophesied in Genesis chapter 9. So Christ goes into Africa to hide. Not just that, but in the super New Testament, Paul himself is mistaken as an Egyptian. So we see, family, that Agrippa himself says, aren't you that Egyptian rabble-rouser? Paul himself was mistaken as an Egyptian, y'all. Our people were known for looking just like Ham. We loved Ham, right? Ham loved us. Joseph saved Egypt. It wasn't like some kind of, we going in taking over. Our people always found refuge with Ham. Solomon and the Queen of Sheba, Menelik and the Beta Israel descendants that descend from Menelik or descend from Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. Our people always took refuge in Africa, to the point that today most of the continent, y'all, I know y'all ain't gonna agree with this, some of y'all, most of the continent of Africa are actually Israelites. Now let's go into some sources. So we did the Harvard study. Now let's deal with it. We did the Harvard study video that took our DNA, EP2, and placed it in the land of Israel. In two of the subgroups, E1B1A and E1B1B, were both found by table 6.1 of the Harvard study in 2011. I'm gonna put it on the screen, you can fact check it. So the Harvard study found EP2 in the land of Israel. It called it Netufia. Now you gotta understand the terminology. When researchers say Netufia, they're not talking about the Ish people. They're not talking about the Israel today. They're not talking about Palestine. They're talking about, well, they can be talking about Palestine, because Palestine is named after Philistia, or the land of the Canaanites. But we're not talking about that people. So they found EP2, or this black African DNA, in the land of Israel before the modern Israel, and it's not them Canaanite people. So who is it? Shem. I'm telling y'all. Now when you look at the continent of Africa, we see that EP2 reaches 75 to 80% dominance in the entire continent. This same Natufian EP2 was found in the Harvard study in Israel. What am I saying? The majority of Africa today, in ancient times, these folks was in the so-called Middle East. We already proved that it's really Northeast Africa, that the term Middle East is 500 years old, that King Angeus, his borders went to Dinhaba, which is the Middle East. We already showed that the Garden of Eden is linked to that same region. Why do I say all this, y'all? Because a lot of Israelites don't understand, and they think that Africa, Africa sold us. You know, Africa, there's a lot of politics. There's a lot of politics that goes into what happened to our people. We think that it was just African people. Yeah, there were Tyre and Zidon, some Canaanites, some African people that sold us to the Grecians. But there was also a lot of Israelites that did that thing. I'm gonna keep it straight with y'all. I gotta tell you the truth. A lot of our people sold us out of fear for the white man, and then out of pressure and a lot of different things. They thought they were gonna be killed. And not just that, but a deeper hidden mystery. The Berlin Conference, right? When you look at King Leopold of the Congo and all these different European countries that divided Africa up. They didn't just divide Africa saying the French are gonna get this region, the Portuguese are gonna get this region, the Germans are gonna get this region. They divided the people. They changed the language, they changed the tribal names to have our people think we are a different people. Now I'm finna show y'all some things about that. First of all, I'm gonna show y'all an image of the CDC that defines race. Now on this image that y'all should see on the screen, it says that a person is deemed white if they come from Europe, North Africa, or the Middle East. Wait, what? So based on the CDC, and I'm telling y'all, this stuff is heavy what white folks have done, and I'm finna deal with it. According to the CDC, white by race includes people of North Africa and the Middle East. Why did they do this? To cut off our people from the rest of the continent and cut off African people from their family. Now when we look at the Yoruba and the Igbo and that whole House of Fulani Biafran war, we gonna deal with it. I showed y'all the White House memorandum that was to President Nixon. In that video, y'all check that out. Now in that video, we see how President Nixon's Secretary of State, Henry Kissinger, calls the Igbo the Jews of Africa. Now y'all, so it's a lot in that. First of all, it shows that they already know that the Igbos are Jews. But not just that. They're trying to see how they can support the Igbo. To this day, a lot of Igbo, and we're going to deal with it, y'all. A lot of my Igbo brothers and sisters have some kind of beef against Yoruba, right? And other Nigerian groups, specifically the Yoruba. The Yoruba and the Igbo, for some reason, not all people beef, but a lot of them say, oh, the Yoruba, they can't be Israel. And then the Yoruba say, well, we're the true Israel. And you got this beef, and all of this was orchestrated by the white man. I'm gonna tell y'all. And we already went into scripture. This is a kingdom divided against itself cannot stand. Historically, whenever our people were divided, other nations came and conquered us. We saw this when the 10 tribes of Israel, the northern kingdom, Ephraim, first split from Judah. Right when that happened, King Salmanasseh of Assyria came in and conquered our folks, y'all. A kingdom divided cannot stand. So these Europeans sliced and diced the African continent like a pie and gave the resources one to another while they eating cherry pie, and our people are fighting one another while we're killing one another. This whole blood and Crip spirit, it's not just in America. It's in our homeland. It's in Africa, where our people doing this same thing, fighting one another, divided over this tribe, this language group, right? When we're all the same people. Studies and genetics show that the Igbo and the Yoruba are 99.7% similar genetically. They the same people. So then you got Yoruba saying, oh, we're Israel, we're Judah, and we're B'nai Ephraim. Then you got Igbo saying, oh, we're Gad, and we're Eri, and we're the Israelites. And all of them the same people, all y'all the 12 tribes. But the white man has went in and divided our people. Why do I go through this? Africa has been divided. North Africa versus West Africa versus South Africa. I'm telling you, the purpose of this channel is to send a sound to the diaspora and our homeland to come back together as a people. Because in strength, there is fear that the nations have that if these people, if the children of the Most High Yah come together, there is no stopping us. We are our own worst enemy. But it's prophesied that the Most High Yah would breathe his spirit and join bone to bone even Ephraim to Judah and resurrect the greatest nation to ever exist, the nation of Israel. And I'm telling y'all, the nation of Israel is not just that little sliver of the Middle East that they want to give us. The promised land is that entire Canaan, and all of hell, all of that would be our people. And I'm telling you, I'm gonna say it again, all of Africa, including Northeast Africa, belongs to the children of Israel. Why do I bring that up? The reason I say that is because a lot of our brothers and sisters have this West mindset that they think, oh, we ain't Africans, we Israel. When they don't understand the history of how our people mixed in so much with Africa that you couldn't even tell the difference, bro. They were the same people. Even when we were in the land of Israel, we mixed in with that people so much. Now, the Most High told us not to, but you know we did it anyway. That you will see Muhammad Bello called the Yoruba of Canaanite extraction. So some people say, see, you were Canaanites. You know, Yoruba are Canaanites. Canaan is the land, not the people. So who are the Yoruba that dwelt in the land of Canaan? Are they Canaanites? Are they the Hittites and the Hivites and the Jebusites? DNA says no, because they're linked more to the Igbo. So we know that they can't be the Canaanites because we know the Igbo are Israelites. And we know that the Limba also match, if you do your Jed match, and we went through those DNA videos, most African Americans are linked with the Limba, are linked with the Igbo, are linked with the Yoruba. And all of these have oral traditions that go back to Israel. We looked at the anthropologist Derek Lang that talked about the origin of the Yoruba going back to the fall of the Assyrian captivity where they migrated into Israel. That the Yoruba descend from the ancient Israelites that were conquered, those 10 tribes, by Assyria, and after Assyria fell, they went into Africa. The Igbo are said to be descendant of Eri, the 8th son of Gad, that migrated around that same time period. So when you look at Oduduwa and you look at the oral tradition of the Yoruba, it coincides with the time period of the Igbo, which suggests that Oduduwa is a title of an individual that's the father of the Yoruba that was with Eri, and they migrated via Derek Lang and his anthropological work into the land of Israel. We went through the Jewish encyclopedia that these white folks already know that we are the same people. That a lot of Africa, most of Africa, is Israelite extraction. Now, Now we're going to deal with the etymology of Africa. Y'all do understand, Africa is a recent term. Akebulan, or the land of Ham, or Kham, where you get Khemit, is the ancient name of the continent. Africa is a new term, and it's not after Leo Africanus or Scipio Africanus, because they are descendants of this event. So where is Africa getting its name from? Now this gets deep. I'm gonna use Josephus. Let me tell y'all. Let me go and get Josephus. Let me go and tell y'all about Josephus. Now Josephus, the historian, the renowned Jewish. Now Josephus said that Africa gets its name from a grandson of Abraham and also a son of the Midianites. Now, when we go into Midian, you get into the Nubian people, and we know that they have African ties when I talk about the land of Ham, right? But the grandson of Abraham is misconstrued, because the name that they give the grandson that the continent gets his name from is Ephraim. Now watch this now. Now watch this. I had a book that I make. This is a part of our Kingdom of Israel series, the Black Kingdom. So when that book comes in, I'm gonna be able to hold it and show y'all. But there is a book. So family, in the book by Dr. Darkwa with a PhD now, The Africans Who Wrote the Bible, we see, I believe, on page 262 through 264. Shout out to Teo for finding that source, because I have some sources. I have like the Jewish Encyclopedia and some other sources we're about to go to that show that the land of Africa is named after Ephraim. When we get into the Biafra, are the two Afars. These are the two Afars that Josephus says the continent is named after. So in Dr. Let me get it right. And Dr. Darkwa's The Africans Who Wrote the Bible book, he says how the land of Africa is linked to the name Ephraim. Josephus verifies this. Now, when you look at how the Romans named continents, Ka was a suffix for the people of. So when you look at Africa, it is the people of Afri. Now this is where you have to research the Afri or Ephraim or Banu Ephraim people. Now this gets into a lot of stuff, and I have a lot of sources, y'all. We got Tel Aviv Library in Jerusalem. It's a lot of sources, the Jewish Encyclopedia, and we're finna go there. So if y'all see on the screen, this is from the Jewish Virtual Library, and it talks about the Ephraim people. All right, now y'all keep in mind, Josephus is talking about the two Afars or two Ephraim people that make up where Africa gets its name from. So Ephraim, let's read a little bit. The provincial capital of Central Sud region, north central Morocco, is situated in the Middle Atlas Mountains. Now this is North Africa. It is Morocco's winter and summer premier resort area. According to Judeo-African tradition, now look at that, Judeo-African, Ephraim is regarded as the first site of Jewish settlement in Morocco. Now let me pause a little bit. Now I know I talked a little bit about this. So family, I told you guys how we went through the Yoruba's oral tradition, which is verified by Cambridge author Ulysses Santa Maria by JSTOR. Y'all can check that out. But basically he talks about the Bani Ephraim, that they live in southern Nigeria. This is where the Yoruba are, and this coincides with the Yoruba oral tradition that they migrated from Morocco when the Jews were banished from Spain in 1492. So the Yoruba's oral tradition is that they are Moors. They come from Morocco. This is Moors and Morocco linked. North African, Berber, Amazigh people, Banu Ephraim people. So the Yorubas say they come from North Africa. They come from Morocco when the Jews were banished, and that they settled in present day Nigeria with the rest of their folks, right? Why is this important? Now these Bani Ephraim, then when you look at Ephraim, or the Ephraim people on the Jewish Virtual Library, let's read it, that they were the first to settle in Morocco, this Ephraim people. And they dwelt in Morocco, right? And many legends have been created about this ancient community, whose first members are said to have arrived from Eretz, Israel, before the destruction of the first temple. A Jewish family was set up there, which was governed by the Afriad people, the Afriad family, then named EPHRATI. The Jews of this kingdom are said to have belonged to the tribe of Ephraim, one of the lost 10 tribes of Israel. All praises to the Most High Yah. Y'all, it is a lot in that. So we see that the continent, according to Josephus, is named by the two Afars, one being linked to the Midianites and another a grandson of Abraham. We really see, if you delve, that it's actually the great grandson of Abraham, which would have been Ephraim. Because when you look at the Jewish virtual library, the first settlement of these Jews was in Morocco, and the prominent family was the Afriad people. Now, the Roman suffix ka is the people of. So the continent of Africa is the people of Afriad. Afrika. The Afri people is where you get Afriad or EPHRATI or Ephraim people, which is the northern kingdom. This stuff gets deep, y'all. I'm finna prove this thing. I'm gonna put an image of a map up. When you look at Egypt and you see Upper and Lower Egypt, look at the map now. Lower Egypt is north and Upper Egypt is south. I repeat, Lower Egypt is towards the north and Upper Egypt is towards the south. This is where Satan gets exposed. I'm telling y'all. We underestimate the power of the Gentile rulership. The Bible says that this people have turned the whole world upside down, if you will, in their era. Daniel said that this beast would seek to change times. The way we base things on a solar calendar, the way that the names of the days of the week, a lot of this is the European model. Now, when you look at the map of Africa, why on earth is Lower Egypt on top and Upper Egypt is at the bottom? It doesn't take a mathematician to be able to look at this and be like, what? But not just that, the fact that the Nile River flows from that Upper Egypt to Lower Egypt. That doesn't make common sense unless that the bottom of Africa is actually the top. Now, y'all, this is where we get into Esau and done all kinds of craftiness. Why do I bring this up? I bring this up because when you look at the kingdom of Israel and Judah, the Bible says that the northern kingdom would be Ephraim. Now, y'all, when you hear the northern kingdom or the 10 tribes known as Israel, this happened when the kingdom split. Y'all look in 1 Kings and Chronicles, which because of Solomon's disobedience and he married all these strange women, his son Rehoboam, God bless him, said, well, my junk is stronger than my daddy junk. And I'm gonna do what I want to do, and I ain't gonna decrease the taxes, and to hell with Judah, our northern kingdom. When Rehoboam did all that, he pissed off the 10 tribes, frustrated them to the point that Israel said, to your tents, O Israel, and the kingdom split. Yaruba or Jeroboam became king of the northern kingdom or Ephraim, and Rehoboam, son of Solomon, became king of Judah, southern kingdom. I bring this up because we think that northern would have been closer to Europe and southern would have been closer to Africa. But we see that Lower Egypt is on top and Upper Egypt is on the bottom. Also, Nubia, Upper Nubia is on the bottom and Lower Nubia is on the top. I know this is confusing, y'all. I know this is a lot. It's heavy. I know. They have changed maps. So northern kingdom of Israel would have actually been the continent of the mountains of Africa. This is verified in the Jewish virtual library, where we see the first Jewish settlement was in Morocco. This is northern Africa. Not just that, but in Tel Aviv Library, Jerusalem. Let's pull it up. Now, Rabbi Jacob Moshe Taladanu in his Sefer Ner HaMarav in Jerusalem, 1910, he verifies the Jewish virtual library that says the Jews of Ephraim have conserved up to the present another old tradition in support of the belief that their ancestors had come at the time of the deportation of the 10 tribes. This goes into Assyria. Assyria, who is founded by Nimrod. Now this is where Muhammad Bello says the Yoruba come from Nimrod. It's a lot, y'all. Nimrod founded the Assyrian Empire. The Assyrian Empire conquered the 10 tribes. When Assyria fell, those 10 tribes went deeper into Africa. This is what this is talking about. So it says that upon the deportation, when the 10 tribes had left Assyria, they established themselves in this country of Ephraim. After many generations, they founded a kingdom of their own and subdued all the native people of the region. I repeat, they subdued all the native people of the region. Why am I catching drive? Most of the continent of Africa are Israelites. This is Tel Aviv, Jerusalem Library. This is, what is it, Sefer Nur HaMarav? Y'all, I searched everywhere for that book. It does not exist. So I only use this online copy because I don't have a physical copy. And you see that they have this book in Jerusalem Library. They know that this Judean African people, this Ephraim, Afriad people, EPHRATI people make up Morocco. These are the Moors. So when you look at people, I know this is a lot, y'all. I'm going to do a follow-up. When you look at Abraham HaEphrati, which that source is going to talk about, Abraham HaEphrati is a part of that Afriad family. It's spelled A-F-R-I-A-T, are the people of Afri. The Romans named Africa after the people of Afri, because when the Romans first came into the continent, those Berber, Moorish, Ephrati people gave them the most hail. When them Romans first tried to come into Africa, Daya el-Kahina, who was an Ephraimite, HaEphrati, like Abraham HaEphrati, they fought viciously. They said, we ain't gonna let these Romans come in here and have their way, right? Now the Romans ended up setting up Carthage, and they ruled in Egypt and that kind of thing. They had an outpost and that kind of thing, but for the most part, they came in and them Africans gave them hell. But the reason I bring this up, y'all, is because these are Ephraimites. This is Northern Kingdom, the continent of Africa, EP2 by the Harvard Study, Jerusalem Library, the Jewish Virtual Library. All of these are verifying and fact-checking Africa being linked to the Northern Kingdom of Ephraim. And not just that, but we already know that Ephraim had an affinity for Egypt and Africa anyway, because their foremother was Egyptian. So we now know that the Northern Kingdom and Africa became one. They loved each other. They dwelt there together in peace. And our people ended up dominating, not in some negative genocidal way, but we just were more agriculturally astute. We just did business well. This is where you get into the Igbo and the Yoruba. We just dominated, proliferated, had a bunch of babies. And then the Bantu expansion, which is a later migration, goes into this. But y'all, I'm gonna do a follow-up because this whole series, this whole Kingdom of Israel, this Black Kingdom series is where we're going into our people going back to the Promised Land. And what I'm telling y'all is the Promised Land is actually Africa. Now y'all already know that the Middle East is Northeast Africa anyway. It's an extension, but not just that area. The entire sub-Saharan, northern Africa, the mountains, all of that is given unto Israel. This was prophesied in Genesis 9. We know that Ham's son Canaan is where Israel gets his name from. It's so much, y'all, right? And not just that, but when we look spiritually, Yeshua said the kingdom is not going to be here or there, but it's going to be inside of Yah's people. Why do I bring that up? We know that the Promised Land is a literal land. So what is Yeshua saying? He's saying, follow the rabbit trail. Follow the crumbs. Because where you find the people, where you discover the Promised Land itself. Africa, our people have always been there. And Yeshua knew that his people would flee into those mountains. And he said, okay, don't look at where they say Israel is. Look at where the people at. Because the fake 1948-ish people and that Yiddish Judaism and stuff they doing over there and that Talmudic nonsense of Judaism, that is not linked to the ancient Israelite customs. I'm going to tell y'all, there are West African, South African, even North African tribes that are keeping pre-exilic Yahwism. I'm going to show y'all that map. of all these, look at all those different African Israelite people. You see, most of them was in the north. They ended up having babies, the Bantu expansion, going deeper into the continent. So Africa is the promised land. This is where you see Marcus Garvey and a lot of them with the Go Back to Africa movement. Did they know all this information? More than not, probably not. But now in these last days, the Most High is revealing all this information, y'all, that our promised land is that continent. When you look at all the precious minerals, that the Bible says the promised land will be that land that flows with milk and honey. When you look at how the phones, our phones, cell phones couldn't even exist without, I think it's called cobalt or rubidium. It's some kind of metal that's found in Africa and nowhere else. And this is where every cell phone is able to exist from, that mineral. So the promised land will be this fertile land flowing with milk and honey. We know Africa is the most fertile area. When you found our people on the west coast of Africa, that is also the Gold Coast. So y'all, it's so much fact checks and so much information, right? So y'all, not just that, I'm telling y'all, I got receipts for days on these things, y'all. But if you look at Africa's Gift to America by J.A. Rogers. Now, J.A. Rogers also wrote Nature Knows No Color Line. He talks about how the original slaves were called Niger, N-I-G-E-R. Nigger is a twisted, deviation from that word, right? So we see in Acts 13 that the early church would call this as well. I'm telling you, when you look at the Ethiopian eunuch, when you look at the Bible says that Peter went to the diaspora, those that were scattered in West Africa or Africa and Western Asia. There's so much evidence, y'all, of the early church during the time of Yeshua interacting with these African, the Ethiopian eunuch, and all these different people, because they were the same people. They were linked as a people. We already know about the Beta Israel of Ethiopia. We already know about a lot of these northern African tribes, but a lot of those northern Israelite African tribes migrated into sub-Saharan Africa. This is where the Yoruba and the Igbo, this is how they got to their present location when they were banished in 1492. So y'all, it's a lot of history and it's a lot to go through when we're talking about these things. So finally, family, I am going to show you a clip by Dr. Windsor. Now, Dr. Windsor wrote From Babylon to Timbuktu. So Dr. Windsor, family, in this clip, he's sitting down with Bishop Nathaniel of IUIC. Those brothers are doing a great work. But I love what Dr. Windsor does. He ends up showing that the Biafran or the Benin people are linked to Ephraim. This is the entirety of the continent itself being linked to Ephraim, and we see a remnant of these people in Benin, in Biafra. So let's look at what Dr. Windsor has to say about that.
In your book, Babylon to Timbuktu, that's one of the favorite books. I want you to go into, because you go into a lot of history regarding Israel along the west coast of Africa. Talk to us about that. Let me ask you this, because there's two trains of thought that I've heard people say. Some people have made the claim that some Israelites still are on the west coast. Some Israelites say they're all gone out of there. So what do you think the validity? You think that there's still some there?
And there in Nigeria, there are the Igbos, the Igbos in Hebrew, and you know, evidently you know French then, right?
Yeah, I understand what that was.
In fact, the word Ebo, I don't know if you heard this, but Ebo, that's the way you say Hebrew. The way you say it in French.
Oh, okay.
You say Ebo. It means Hebrew.
Okay.
You see? So a lot of Israelites in southern Nigeria and in the country next door used to be called Dahomey.
Right, I've read about Dahomey.
Yeah, but now called Benin.
Benin.
In fact, that word Benin is a corruption or contraction from the Hebrew word Benaim Ephraim, which means the children of Ephraim.
Now that's in your book.
Yes.
I came across it. I was like, wow.
Yeah, you remember that.
That's right.
That's good. Yeah.
All praises, honor, and glory to the Most High Yah. I'm telling y'all, the continent of Africa is the promised land. Israel is Northeast Africa. The Garden of Eden went through Ethiopia and the heartbeat of Jerusalem. We see the patriarchs being mistaken as African people. Moses was raised in Pharaoh's house. Joseph was sold there. Christ fled there. Paul was mistaken as an Egyptian. We see that the first wife of Judah was a Canaanite. Joseph's wife, Moses' wife. So that means these Levites and those Judeans and Ephraim and Manasseh all are linked to Ham. We saw in Genesis 9 about the prophecy that Noah gave his 3 sons, that Ham and his land would be a servant to Shem. This is why our people always had an affinity for that land. So Africa is linked with Ephraim. We saw the Jewish Virtual Library. We saw the Tel Aviv Jerusalem Library source. Y'all, it's so many receipts linking this information. And the residue of the people that have that oral tradition are tribes like the Igbo and the Yoruba that talk about the B'nai Ephraim people, because they retain this oral tradition of the ancient Afriad people. So with that, y'all, we're going to keep going through this. I know it's a lot. Y'all take notes. Y'all comment any questions. If y'all want to support this work, I'm going to put the Cash App. We couldn't do this without y'all. I love you all from the bottom of our hearts. I hope you guys got something out of it. And if y'all have any other questions or comments about doing certain topics, always drop that stuff. Y'all can email me any research y'all might find and be like, JB, check this out. And I'll be glad to do that thing. So I love y'all with the love of the Messiah. Peace, love, blessings, and black power to the chosen race of the Most High Yah. Shalom. All praises.